Hello, welcome to this second video all about paper. This video is going to be a little bit longer than the last one because I've got 3 different kinds of paper in this one. So now I'm going to do kids tracing paper, and I know this sounds a bit weird to do, but it is worth doing because sometimes you might use, so for this kids stuff, you might use it for doing paper lanterns or things like that, so you need to know if it will take colour and what sort of colour it will take and how it will take it and what have you. So it's quite good if you're doing little craft projects with the kids and you want to use something that will let light through, because if you look, you can completely see through that. I would also say that if you use professional tracing paper, it will actually be clearer than this. As I say, this is a kids tracing paper, so it's the cheapest of the cheapest. And it's barely one up from using like baking paper or stuff, which you can do as well. Baking paper is quite good, but it will have problems because baking paper is designed to be grease proof. You're going to have trouble getting pencils and things like that to actually mark on it, because it just works as if you've got wax paper. It just doesn't want to take it. The same with colouring pens and things like that. So you do have to be careful with stuff like that. Sometimes it seems like a cheaper way of doing it, or if you've got some in the house and you need to trace, it's okay. If you need to trace something and you've got no tracing paper, but you've got baking parchment, that's fine, or baking paper, that's fine. But I would use a high graphite pen, or you can use Sharpies and things like that. You have got to be careful though. It depends on whether the thing you've got underneath it is precious. Because if the thing that you've got underneath it is precious, sometimes Sharpie can go through even baking paper. So do be careful about that. Right, so let's get this party started. Let's see if we can get some pencil down on this one. So this is the smoother side. The other side is a bit rough, so you can see on that side it's like that, and on this side it's kind of shiny. If you can see that. Now, I'm never entirely sure which side you're supposed to use. I always used to use the shiny side, so I can have a go on both sides and just see what's better. So if you can see, this is already, I've got to be really careful because this will rip paper because it's quite a sharp. So you can see, even with this, it's not really sticking to it because it's on the shiny side. The other side is better for that. But quite often, quite a handy thing you can do with paper, with tracing paper, is you can make like a sort of fake carbon copy paper. So what you do with that is, again, get a high graphite pencil. So you've got your picture, you've traced your picture on the shiny side. No, you've traced your picture, and then remember which side. So you've traced your picture on this side, then on the other side you can actually use another pencil to press down, and it will transfer the picture. Or should do, I should say. As I say, I haven't got a high graphite pencil on me at the minute, but I will show you, if I remember, which is always the trick with me. If I remember, I will try and show you in another video how you can do that, because it's a lot cheaper than having to buy carbon paper, and you can use graphite pencils for so many different things. But yeah, so as you can see, that's not really showing up. Again with the red, flip over. I mean, I always assumed that because this came in like a little pack of paper, like a sketchbook of paper type thing, like, and this was, I want to say this is 99p for an A3 sketchbook, so twice the size of a normal piece of paper. So yeah, so it'll copy on there. So if you are going to use it, if you are trying to put colour on it, I would say use this side of the colour rather than shine. And also it tends not to, because that just looks horrible. Because it's horrible. Oh, yellow looks quite good on it. I would imagine it's quite good if you're making like a paper lantern for Christmas or something. If you had like you drew like flames and stuff on there, that would look quite good. These boys. Let's have a look at here. It sticks. Doesn't really want to stick, but it does stick. It does stick. All that yellow. It shows up the yellow, but I think that's possibly because it's got orange underneath. And again, I'll do it on this side as well, so you can see. You can actually see the grain of the paper there. Look. I think it's a bit like tin foil, where they've got one side is pressed flat and the other side is not. That was good English, wasn't it? That was well spoken. Yeah. See, it's not too bad, but as I say, yes, I would use that for decorative purposes rather than necessarily. Anyway, carry on. So the question is, will it let ink go through? Because that would be interesting. Because if you're using, as I say, if you're tracing something, you might have something that's precious underneath, and you don't want to risk getting ink on whatever it is you're tracing. It's not too bad actually. Let's have a look. See if we can put that in this envelope. I know. I just don't want to use a nice paper to risk getting nice paper not nice messed up. Yeah, so nothing goes through on that one. That's pretty cool. So yeah. So I would say that definitely normal felt tip pens are a bit of a winner on that one. Unexpected. I must admit, I was expecting that to go straight through. I wouldn't have the nerve to use felt tips anything. Now the ink pens would be the challenge, I think. Let's have a look at this. Use the square tip, use the chisel tip last time. Ooh, those do come through. Those really come through. Yeah, alcohol is just like, it's such fine stuff. Okay, let me see how much comes through. Wow, that's worse than even with a copy of paper. Jeepers. Let's try just very gently with the orange. Gently, that is. I hardly hear it. See what I can do. Oh, it still comes through a little bit. Look, you can see just there. It just still comes through. Oh yes. So I was pleasantly surprised with the normal markers. So the pencil was rubbish. But that's coloured pencil. You might find pencil. Speak the word. Pencil. Right. That is pastel. And a food. This is it. So yeah, I'd say felt tip was definitely a good one. Pastel's quite nice because I think that would actually make, you know, if you're doing like decorative stuff, I think that might actually like it look really nice. So if you're doing like a lantern and you wanted to just put very subtle gradients so the light shines through it, I think that would look really pretty. So I would imagine you could do that with coloured chalk as well. Obviously, coloured chalk tends to be a little bit harder than these soft pastels, so you might want to be a bit careful just in case you rip the paper. But yeah, if you can get a bunch of these cheap pastels, I mean the kids will love it as well because it's lucky. But yeah, so that's that. That's the tracing paper one. And even though this looks really nice, those actually come out really nice because even where they've gone over each other, you can't see. You know, normally when you go with Macabre and you get those layers of colour, the pink and the orange come out really nicely smooth colours. Well, it looks worse on the camera, but actually in person that's actually quite a solid block of colour popping up. That was not solid block of colour, but I think I'd press that one down a bit hard. So yeah, so that's the tracing paper, which is pretty cool. So right, this is where we start getting into artist's paper. Actually, I shouldn't do it again, should I? Oh yeah. These are cut. So this one and the next one I'm going to do is cartridge papers. So they're the slightly heavier weight things you're going to get in sort of average sketchbook, unless it's a specific type of sketchbook. these are the sort of things you're going to get more of. This one is the more expensive cartridge paper I've got. This is Winsor Newton, which is a fairly recognised artist's brand, and this is just a normal cartridge sketch pad. Make weird noises, do silly things. Right, so we have got, first of all, coloured pencils. I should really do this with like normal sketching pencils as well, but I wanted to do something with a bit of colour after all the shading pictures. I just wanted to do something that was actually had colour in it. And I know this is just blobs of colour, but it's still colour. You know, sometimes you just want a little colour. I have here a blue pencil. Right, so you can see that goes on really nice and smooth. This paper has a little bit of a texture to it. I don't know if you'll be able to see it if I hold it up to the camera. You can possibly see a bit, but it's got texture. Yeah, so yeah. And obviously, depending on how much pressure you put on, depends on how much texture shows up, depends on how dark it is. This is a nice one if you want to add a bit of pencil colour. So that's really nice. I quite like that. All of these are a bit hard, these pencils. They're okay, but they're designed more to keep the tip nice. I prefer softer soft colour pencils myself. But these are ideal for things like if you've got a colouring book and it's got lots of little detaily bits in, because these stay quite hard, so you can actually go into little nooks and crannies and make quite a nice bright colour. Imagine you're colouring in a colour and a little flower or something. Do that. You just, yeah, anyway. So I prefer slightly softer one myself, but you know, obviously there's all different kinds out there, and it's just a case of shopping around. This red is not as bold as I would like, but that's the colour rather than the paper that's a fault there, and also my fussiness, but that's beside the point. So this is quite nice yellow, this one. Sort of golden yellow, buttercup yellow, sort of thing. Make good buttercups. It needs to be slightly more orange to make dandelions, I'd say. But I like it. So, not that I particularly like yellow as a colour. You won't often see yellow in my own stuff. Yeah, now, these boys. Let's see what we can do. That goes on quite well. Let's see how smudge. Ooh, it goes quite a long way, that smudge. That's quite nice. I think you can probably see more of the texture in this. So you can see it's got quite fine texture, this paper. And you'll find, depending on what you're doing, you'll want things that do or do not have texture, depending on. That's the other thing. Stuff gets everywhere. So let's do that. So that's quite nice. It's quite a long way actually. Yeah, you can see it goes. Let's have a look at these pens. Let's have a felt tips. Yeah, that's pretty good. Goes down pretty well. So we can put it on a bit thicker. I put that on really thick. As you can see, it's hardly come through that one, which is really nice. Right, so you can see. And also, must not harm copyrighted music. Note to self, must not harm copyrighted music. So Yeah, so the advantage with this stuff, the cartridge paper, and as I say, this is what you get in most like artist sketchbooks. Even artist sketchbooks. You get something around about this sort of weight and this sort of, as you can see on each of these pieces of paper, I've written the weight of the paper where I have it. I mean, obviously the tracing paper doesn't have a weight on it. Some copier papers do, some don't. It's generally a fairly light paper, but this one is 110 GSM, which is grams per square meter. The Americans measure them in pounds. Unfortunately, the pounds don't directly correlate to the grams per square meter because it depends on what kind of paper as to how many grams it is. So you might have one paper that is, or two papers that are the same GSM, but will be a different pound weight, like wildly different pound weight. So it's an arcane thing. I have a PDF which explains it. I haven't gone through it yet, but one day. Not today though. Right. And then, last but not least, our friends, the marker pens. As you see, you can feel like a decent amount of colour. It soaks in a bit, which is fine. Does it go through? That's the question. Where's my envelope of doom? So you can see that where I've already soaked through, so I'm going to put it up there. Where's that pink boy? That's just the one, and there's a teeny tiny bit, look, teeny bit there, tidgy, but not too badly. So I would advise you, if you've got a sketchbook that's got this sort of weight of paper, which is, as I say, 110 GSM, so it's quite a light cartridge paper. And you see it's fairly thin there. It's good noise. You probably want to use another piece of paper just to go behind it, just so that you don't mark on the next page on your sketchbook. I tend to do that anyway, or get thicker paper. That's the other thing you can do. But, yeah. So you want to be farting around with that all the time, then? And you can fart around with an extra piece of paper. I don't know what I'm talking about. So yeah, so that's quite nice. So you get a decent colour, but you can really see the pen marks on this one. Even in comparison to the copy paper. What I didn't do with the tracing paper that I will do with this one is use the blending pen. Let's just see. The other thing you can do with blending pens is this. You see where it's soaking up the colour. Which looks, and eventually it will come just a colour. Eventually, I don't see much in. Oh. Looks like I have a pink blending pen there. Yeah, I don't think this has got enough alcohol in it. That's what the problem is. Yeah, because it all went into the blending pen. What should have happened is that should have soaked up this colour. This colour should have had like a clear bit at the end. So that would blend as well. That would be, and it would go light into dark. But obviously, that's what's happening. Anyway, now that you've seen my abysmal failure of that. Right, so as you can see, that one is good for normal filtered pens, good for pencils, good for pastels, If you are going to have a book of pastel things, there's two ways you can, because this will smudge onto your, you can see on my finger there, it's just continually, it will always smudge, and it will get smudged, and it will also leave colour on the opposite page if you've got a sketchbook. The easiest way and the cheapest way of doing it is get some cheap hairspray, and just give it a light spray of cheap hairspray. Not too cheap though, because if you get the really like the, you know, say supermarket's own brand, sometimes they just leave it sticky. So try and get something sort of medium, or get like something from Poundland or something like that, or whatever, and use that. If you start doing pastel colours professionally, get a pastel sealer, which will pastel fixative, which will work on pastels. You can also use it for charcoal drawing. So if you do a lot of charcoal drawings, say you've joined a life drawing class or something like that, you might find that you're doing a lot of charcoal drawings. It will also seal charcoal drawings. You can do the same trick with hairspray. It's up to you. One of the advantages of hairspray, of course, is that a lot of hairsprays these days also have UV filters. So that means that if it's fixed with that kind of hairspray, it will actually stop the picture fading as quickly as well. So if you've got it in a light room, over time, over like a few years, it will fade in colour. But the UV protected ones will actually help slow that down. It won't stop it. I'm not saying it'll stop it, but it'll help slow that down. Whereas normal fixative doesn't have that, so you have to either put it under UV protected glass if you want to keep it for a long time, or you have to hang it somewhere where it's out of the sun, which you should do really with most art anyway, but I know how life is. Sometimes you want to put stuff in a nice room. Anyway, that's the cartridge. That's that cartridge page, the Winsor Newton Cartridge page. Start again. The Winsor Newton Cartridge sketchpad paper. At 100 GSM. Sorry, 110 GSM. And you can get that in most places. You can get that in most art and craft shops. Winsor Newton's a fairly easy to get hold of brand. Not a problem at all. Now my next cartridge paper is cheaper cartridge paper. So even though this is a heavier cartridge paper, so it's 130 GSM, so it's 20 GSM heavier, so it is actually thicker. You can see by the way it flexes that it's got a little bit more oomph to it. This isn't quite as nice to work with because it's so I'll show you. So this one, you feel it, it's kind of silky. Not smooth, but it's got like a sort of nice, I don't know what you call it. It's got a kind of silky feel to it. This one feels a little bit, it feels, let me see, it still feels smooth, but it doesn't feel quite as silky as the other one. It's got it's got a little bit more friction to it when you rub it gently. Don't rub it hard because it doesn't make any difference there, but just gently you can put your hand over it so you can feel there's a difference there. If you look, it's less even in texture as well. So you've got this one which is pretty much, there's much more even texture. So even though it's got some texture, it's sort of spread out throughout. Whereas this one, if you look at it, it's a bit more, bits of it have got more texture than other bits of it. And I don't know if they did that intentionally or whether that's just a manufacturing thing. Anyway, so this is Broadmere Cartridge paper, which I got from. So it's Broadmere is the works own brand. So it's cheap, serviceable. It's okay. It's okay. Let's have a look and see how it plays. Right, so we've got pencils first. That's probably be okay for pencils because it's a thicker one, so you can press a little harder on it without it denting the paper quite so much. But you see, it doesn't feel smooth. You see, it's got more. I'm trying to do it the same as I did before, but it's not quite as smooth. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not. And it is significantly cheaper. So, you know, this is a good everyday thing. What I'm going to do is bring the other one over to compare how the colours come out. So I'm pressing quite hard on that one. And this yellow. This is a surprisingly good yellow. I'm very impressed with this yellow, I have to say. Because normally they don't show up very well on camera. So if I bring this over, so if you look, can you see the difference in the way the colour goes down? So this is a lot smoother the way the colour's gone on. This one's coming from lines. I'll try again. You can put it fairly softly. Still, you can still see the lines where I've done it. You do that on softly. It doesn't show up as much. You can see there is definitely a difference there. Also, if you look at the actual pencil itself, I don't know if you can see that actually. You look at those, except where really pressed down hard, you can see it sort of pushed the paper in and made it kind of shiny. But on this one, even where I haven't pushed particularly hard, it's still pretty shiny. Which is not ideal. It's okay, but it's not ideal. Yeah. It's one of those things, it's how what you prefer really. Let's glue on this one. Oh, that's quite nice. Let's see how that rubs in. That's not too bad. That works. A bit more right there. That's not too bad at all, actually. I quite like that. Yeah, so I'd say it's not quite smooth. Even though it's not gone on quite as smooth as the other one, I would say that this one actually looks nicer. I'd say it's got a slightly, it's actually allowed more of the pastel to actually stay on the paper rather than this one, which the pastel comes off quite easily. Whereas this one allows a bit more colour to be retained, but I think that's possibly because this one's slightly rougher. So the pastel gets trapped between the little paper particles, for want of a better word. So yeah, so I'd say that for the pencil, the Winsor Newton one is nicer. But for the pastels, this one, the Broadmere, the works stuff, is much nicer. Got a bit more colour to it, you know. So that's good to know. See, this is useful for me as well, I have to admit, because I've never done this before. I've always sort of made assumptions about things, which is never a good thing. Never a good thing to make assumptions. Right, so felt tip pen. Ooh, oh, that's not ideal. Right, so if you look closely, can you see the edges of the lines? Let's see if I can get this to work properly. The edges of the lines. Right, if I can get this to focus on it closely. Right, can you see the edges of the lines are fuzzy there? Not because they're out of focus, funnily enough. Because the felt tip pen has actually sunk into the paper and bled. This is what they call bleeding. So bleeding through is when it comes through on the back, which it hasn't done, which is nice. But that, in your drawings, if you're doing your own drawings, that is not a good look. Because it makes your edges unclear and fuzzy. So if you're trying to do something and you want bold colours from a felt tip pen, that is going to look not good. That is not going to look good. It's going to look not good. Not good. So I'd not be happy with that, I have to say. Right. Let's try the red and the yellow, see if they do the same thing, see if it's the paper or the pens. Well, it's not quite as... Oh no. Yeah, no, you can see it's doing the same thing. You see there? Not as bad as with the blue, I have to say. I'm not sure why that is, but it is definitely doing the same thing. You see that it's an indistinct edge, which is not ideal. Let's do the yellow. It's going to be hard to tell with yellow anyway against the white, but it's up. Right, so what can we see? Can you see? Yeah, so it's bled quite a lot. Yeah, I think it's actually, yeah, it's not ideal. I wouldn't use felt tip pen on this, I have to say. I mean, I wouldn't have anyway, but this is why. This one's like, I don't know if it's more, I don't know if it's the other paper is denser or something, because this one, it feels okay to use, but it just does bleed, and that's never great. It's frustrating as well when you've spent ages doing like a pencil drawing or a line drawing. Stop refocusing. I swear to God. Right, okay. If you've spent ages doing pencil drawing and you want to add colour, and then either your pen lines or your inks start bleeding, it's so maddening. It's so maddening. Now, if these ones bleed, let's have a look at the alcohol markers, because generally, if this type bleed, these ones are an absolute freaking nightmare. Let's have a look. It's not. Yeah. I think you may have. Yeah, they're bleeding a little bit, not too badly. God, I love it. It's insane. Not too bad, but they are. I mean, I suppose because these ones dry faster than the other ones anyway. But yeah, they do look. I mean, if I put my in there, that's what happens. So you can see it's actually still moving out, which is not as it should be. Let me do it on the other one. So you can see. So you can still see the shape of the chisel, even though it has bled a bit, and it's nowhere near as bright as that one. So I'll show you these two in comparison. You see, a bit more contrast for that. Focus. You see though, it looks fuzzy on the outside. That is actually how it is, not bad focus. That is how fuzzy it comes out. Not so bad where you're doing the strokes, but at the beginning and end of the strokes where your pen rests a little bit, yeah, not a good look. So you can see that's come out bright insane orange and just oval, whereas this one, not as orange, but you can see it's still retained kind of a similar shape to the end, so it's not spread out as far. So yeah, so this one is better for. So the Broadmere seems to be more soaking in, if that is even a phrase you can use. This one soaks up colour more, so you're getting the, yeah, and also this bleeds through. They both bleed through actually. This one obviously is a bit thinner, so it'll bleed through more, but either of these I would put a piece of paper behind to stop bleed through. But this one's slightly heavier, but it's also lets more ink. Come on. And you're going to even try to focus. Thank you. This is like you move it 2 centimeters and it just focuses. But yeah, so this one seems to be really good for the pastels and keeping those colours really cool. Just swap those around actually, just because it's annoying. Yeah, so these ones are the pastels. This one works better for pencils, I would say. Neither of them are ideal for marker pens. I've got a smoother. Let's have a look. Just double check this. Oh, a little bit. Not that one. That's the other thing as well. The more absorbent your paper is, the more you're going to lose ink. This one, well, as I say, they're value for money. Then these ones are value for money. They're not high class. High class. I can't afford too much high class stuff. So these are sort of things so all these papers that I've gathered around me over the years. So yeah, it's interesting to know though. It's good to know. Well, this seems to be a good time to wrap up this video. So what I'm going to say is the usual stuff. So if you could like, subscribe, share this around, it would be really nice to get a few more followers. And I will see you in the next video, and I hope you learned something this time, because I certainly did. And take care.